All right, so we've all heard about dopamine and serotonin, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The pleasure chemical and the mood booster.
Right.
Catchy labels, but
Yeah.
a new Stanford study published in Nature is showing us that it's way more complicated than that.
It really is.
So,
Fascinating how these simple labels kind of took hold.
yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Okay.
If serotonin was just about an instant mood boost,
Yeah.
wouldn't antidepressants like SSRIs work right away? But instead, it takes weeks,
Yeah, that's true.
which hints at a much deeper process going on.
Okay, so maybe we've oversimplified things a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are we missing when we just think of dopamine as pleasure
Right.
and serotonin as a mood thing?
Well, this study suggests that dopamine plays a crucial role in learning.
Right.
It's less about the immediate pleasure and more about figuring out what actions are worth repeating
Interesting.
because they lead to something good.
Okay.
As for serotonin, it seems to be involved in long-term thinking and being able to adjust your behavior based on what's happening around you.
So it's not just feeling happy in the moment,
Right.
but actually shaping how we make decisions and act in the long run.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's about finding a balance between going for that immediate reward and thinking about the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And this raises a big question.
Okay, what's that?
How do these two powerful systems, dopamine and serotonin, actually work together?
Well, the study dives into two main theories, right?
Yeah.
One where they work together
Mhm.
and another where they're kind of at odds with each other.
That's right.
Okay.
Think of it like this.
Right.
Dopamine is the gas pedal, urging you to go for it,
Okay.
while serotonin is the brake,
Mm-hmm.
encouraging you to slow down.
Yeah.
And think about the consequences.
Okay.
That's the core of the opponency hypothesis.
I like that gas pedal and brake.
Yeah.
So how did the Stanford study figure out what's really going on?
Yeah.
They mentioned using mice, right?
They did. They actually used genetically engineered mice,
Wow.
which let them see and control the activity of both dopamine and serotonin in the brain.
Really?
It's a pretty amazing technical achievement.
Wow. Being able to actually control brain chemicals like that?
Yeah,
That's some serious science.
it is.
What exactly did they do with these mice?
They set up an experiment where the mice learned to associate a specific tone and light with getting a sweet reward.
So they were training the mice to expect something good.
Yeah.
Clever.
And as the mice were learning this, the researchers were observing what was happening in their brains. What they found was that dopamine signals spiked when the mice got the reward, while serotonin signals actually dipped,
Oh, wow.
like a seesaw.
So even at this basic level of learning, there's this push and pull
Yeah,
between dopamine pushing them toward the reward and serotonin maybe holding them back a little.
exactly.
Okay.
But they took it a step further.
Yeah.
They used a technique called optogenetics,
What is it?
which is essentially using light to switch specific neurons on or off.
Wait, optogenetics.
Yeah.
They're controlling neurons with light.
Uh-huh.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It might sound futuristic,
Yeah.
but it's a real tool that's revolutionizing neuroscience.
Wow.
The researchers used it to block either dopamine or serotonin signals during the learning process.
Okay, I'm hooked. What happened when they did that?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
When they blocked both dopamine and serotonin,
Uh-huh.
the mice couldn't learn the association at all.
Okay.
Not surprising.
Right. Guess not.
You need some kind of signal to learn.
Yeah.
But here's the twist.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Restoring just one of the systems didn't do the trick.
Really?
The mice could only learn effectively when both dopamine and serotonin were working.
Whoa, so it's not a case of one being good and the other bad.
Right.
It's about the interplay between them, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It seems you need both the gas pedal of dopamine to get going
Yeah.
and the brake of serotonin to make sure you don't go too far.
So this tiny mouse experiment is telling us something huge about how our brains learn and make decisions.
Right.
But I have to ask, what does this all mean for us? The non-mice listeners out there.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one we're going to unpack right now.
Okay.
This research could have profound implications for how we understand and treat conditions like addiction and mood disorders.
I'm trying to wrap my head around how this research could actually help people struggling with addiction. Could you walk me through that?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
In addiction, the reward system can go into overdrive. It's like the gas pedal being stuck to the floor,
Okay.
with dopamine driving those intense cravings and compulsive behaviors.
So someone struggling with addiction might have a hyperactive dopamine system?
Exactly.
Okay.
And at the same time, their serotonin system,
Right.
the brake,
Yeah,
might be weaker than usual, making it harder to resist those urges.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So could this research lead to new treatment approaches?
That's the hope.
Okay.
Imagine therapies that could fine-tune the balance between dopamine and serotonin.
Interesting.
We might be able to dampen the excessive dopamine activity while simultaneously strengthening the serotonin brake.
That would be incredible.
Yeah,
It's like giving someone struggling with addiction a better steering wheel
right.
to navigate those urges.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.
And it's not just addiction.
Yeah.
This research could also shed light on mood disorders, like depression.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, people with depression often experience low motivation
Okay.
and difficulty finding pleasure in things they used to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
This could be linked to a sluggish dopamine system, lacking that go signal.
So it's not just about feeling sad. It's about lacking the drive to pursue things that could make them feel better.
Precisely. And remember, serotonin isn't just about immediate mood.
Yeah.
It's also involved in long-term thinking and behavioral flexibility.
So someone with depression might also have a hard time planning for the future and adapting to change because of their serotonin system.
It's a possibility.
Okay.
And this imbalance could be a contributing factor.
This is all starting to connect.
Yeah.
So in depression, we might need to find ways to boost both dopamine and serotonin.
That's a promising avenue for research.
Okay.
Enhancing both systems could potentially improve motivation, increase enjoyment, and promote more flexible thinking and behavior.
This study is truly a game changer.
Yeah, it is.
It's amazing to think that something as seemingly simple as the interaction between two brain chemicals could hold the key to understanding and treating such complex conditions.
It really highlights the intricate dance of neurochemicals in our brains.
Yeah.
And how even subtle imbalances
Right.
can have profound effects on our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
This is why I love science.
Me too.
Always digging deeper, revealing hidden connections, and opening up new possibilities.
It is.
But I have to ask,
Sure.
is this research all about mice?
Right.
Or is there any evidence that this dopamine-serotonin interplay is relevant to humans too?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While this particular study was conducted on mice,
Right.
remember the nucleus accumbens, where this interplay occurs,
Okay.
is very similar in mice and humans.
Oh, interesting.
It's a fundamental part of the reward circuitry
Yeah.
that drives our motivations and behaviors.
So it's reasonable to think that similar mechanisms might be at play in our own brains.
It's highly likely.
Okay.
Of course, more research is needed to confirm this directly in humans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But this study lays a powerful foundation for future investigations.
I can't wait to see what they uncover next.
Me neither.
This deep dive has been incredible,
It has.
but I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
What else can you tell us about the broader implications of this research?
Well, besides the potential for new treatments, this study is also notable for its innovative methodology.
Okay.
The techniques they developed
Yeah.
to simultaneously observe and manipulate dopamine and serotonin systems
Right.
could revolutionize how we study the brain.
You mean beyond just these two neurotransmitters?
Exactly.
Wow.
This opens up a whole new world of possibilities
Yeah.
for investigating the complex interactions between different brain regions and chemical messengers.
So it's not just about the findings themselves, but also about the tools they created to get there.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's like they invented a new, more powerful microscope to explore the intricate workings of the brain.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era of neuroscience research.
It's an exciting time to be following these developments.
Well, I know one thing.
What's that?
I'm never going to think about dopamine and serotonin in the same way again. This deep dive has truly been eye-opening. But before we wrap things up,
Okay.
what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember from this conversation?
I think the most important message is that our brains are incredibly complex and interconnected. The simplistic labels of pleasure, chemical, and mood booster
Right.
just don't capture the nuance and interplay of these systems.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's all about balance, like that gas pedal and brake analogy
Right.
we keep coming back to.
Exactly. And this delicate balance is crucial for healthy brain function, learning decision-making, and even our overall well-being.
So the next time we hear those oversimplified headlines, we'll know better. We'll remember that there's so much more to the story.
Precisely.
Okay.
And perhaps this deeper understanding will spark curiosity.
Yeah.
And encourage more people to learn about the fascinating world of neuroscience.
Well, I know I'm hooked.
Yeah, me too.
And I have a feeling our listeners are too. But before we sign off, do you have any final thoughts or provocative questions to leave our audience with?
I think it's worth reflecting on the mice voting with their feet anecdote from the study.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, they preferred the experience of having both dopamine and serotonin manipulated together. Yeah. Even though it was technically more disruptive to their systems.
That's right.
It's almost like they instinctively knew that the balance between these systems was more important than just maximizing one or the other.
Exactly.
Perhaps this offers a subtle lesson for us as well.
Okay.
Maybe we, too, underestimate the importance of balance and interplay between different systems in our own lives.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about our brains.
Right.
It's about how we approach life in general.
Precisely.
Okay.
It might be worth pondering.
Yeah.
Are there areas in our lives where we could benefit from a more nuanced understanding of motivation, impulse control, and long-term planning?
That's a thought-provoking question for sure. It seems like this research has given us a lot to think about.
Definitely.
Both in terms of our brains and our lives.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for those who want to dive even deeper,
yeah,
we highly recommend checking out the full study published in Nature.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes.
Awesome.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It truly has.
Okay.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up.
Okay, folks. That's it for this deep dive into dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride. Okay, so we've been on quite a journey exploring dopamine and serotonin,
Yeah.
and how they work together.
It really is fascinating.
It's amazing how just one study can completely change our understanding of something so fundamental to how we think and behave.
To how we function, yeah.
But before we get too lost in the science, I want to bring it back to our listeners, know? What can we actually do with this new understanding of dopamine and serotonin?
I think the first step is simply being aware that these systems are constantly at play in our lives.
Right.
They influence our motivations, our decisions, even our moods.
So it's not just about, addiction or depression. It's really about everything we do.
Think about it.
Okay.
Every time you reach for that extra cookie or scroll through social media for just 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Or hit that snooze button instead of going for that run.
Right.
It's a reflection of that push and pull between dopamine's go signal and serotonin's wait signal.
I never thought of it that way. It's like these neurochemicals are shaping our choices all the time without us even realizing it.
They certainly play a powerful role.
Oh, yeah.
But the good news is...
Okay, what's that?
We're not helpless
by
understanding these systems.
Right.
We can start to make more conscious choices that align with our long-term goal.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we harness this knowledge to make positive changes?
It starts with mindfulness.
Okay.
Paying attention to those urges and impulses. Noticing when that dopamine go signal is trying to kind of hijack our decision-making.
So we need to be more aware and ask ourselves, is this really what I want? Or is dopamine just calling the shots?
Exactly. And that's where serotonin, our inner brake, comes in.
Right.
It helps us pause,
Yeah.
reflect, and consider the consequences.
I love that analogy. But let's be real. Sometimes those dopamine urges are just too strong.
Oh, yeah.
What do we do when we feel like we're losing that battle?
One helpful strategy is to make it easier to resist those temptations.
Okay.
Create an environment where you're less likely to give in.
So, like, if I'm trying to eat healthier, I should get rid of all the junk food in my house.
Out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
Right.
Make it easier for your serotonin system to win by removing those triggers. And on the flip side, make healthy choices more accessible.
Yeah.
Keep a bowl of fruit on the counter, have your workout clothes ready to go, or pre-pack a healthy lunch.
It's like setting ourselves up for success.
Right.
By making the desired choice the easiest choice.
Precisely.
Okay.
And remember, we can also use rewards.
Oh, I'm all for rewards.
Right.
How does that work with dopamine and serotonin?
Think about the things that give you genuine, lasting satisfaction.
Yeah.
Not just a quick hit of dopamine.
Right.
Maybe it's spending time with loved ones,
Yeah.
pursuing a creative hobby, or enjoying some time in nature.
So finding activities that activate our serotonin system.
Exactly.
Things that bring a sense of calm, contentment, and long-term fulfillment.
Exactly. And by consciously incorporating those activities into our routine, we're essentially strengthening our inner brake.
Right.
And making it easier to resist those impulsive dopamine-driven desires.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
Good.
We really can rewire our brains for happiness and well-being.
It's all about understanding the interplay of these powerful systems.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge to our advantage.
This deep dive has truly changed the way I think about my own behavior.
That's great to hear.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on the power I have to shape my choices.
It is empowering.
It is.
Remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Every small step we take towards understanding our brains and harnessing the power of these neurochemicals is a step towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
I think that's the perfect note to end on.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of dopamine and serotonin.
My pleasure.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for diving deep with us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
We hope this episode has left you feeling inspired and empowered.
I hope so.
Remember, knowledge is power.
It is.
And by understanding these powerful neurotransmitters, you can start making choices that lead to a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.